Hi everyone. So I just wanted to kind of get a video out there that really just shows what I was talking about in the email about A4 and the two components to that. So this video is just going to kind of show what I'm expecting for A4 and kind of a way to go through and upload it and really to make both of our lives easier. So in this assignment, we're really going to be focusing on thinking about thinking. And that's a really big thing to think about, I guess, because when we go back and revise, we really want to focus our revisions on the choices that we were making as writers. Why did we write that sentence like we did? Why did we include that piece of evidence there? How did that function in the context of that assignment? And these are really some things we're going to be thinking about as well as we move on for this A4. So that's kind of a general mindset to get in as we approach revision. So part one is asking you to do just that. It's asking you to take A1 or A2, and if I've talked to you about your A3s, then we'll go that route as well. But stay within A1 or A2 unless you've talked to me otherwise. You're supposed to go back and look at my comments and engage with my comments and use those kind of as a guide to then make some revisions and engage in that metacognitive process. So you want to go through and you want to use my comments, but you also want to move past those, really think you can use this as a starting place, but hopefully those will get you to a place where you're like, oh, I did this, Kevin commented on this, but I see this also happening here, therefore I'm going to change that as well. So this part one I'm going to focus on really quick. Basically what this is going to look like is you're going to take so say for instance we're editing we're revising A2. You take A2 and you look at my comments and then you'll create a new document. So you'll basically take A2 and you'll bring up the one that you submitted, and then you'll go through and you'll change portions of it, you'll revise portions of it, and then you'll highlight those portions that you changed and then save that into a new document. So the ideal thing is that when I grade them, I can pull up your submission for your revised work and then look at that next to what you turned in and then see how you moved past or you progressed from that original assignment and you improved it essentially. So we'll take a look at that. Here's some kind of suggestions: reorganizing content, developing analysis, and this is all on the assignment sheet, so this is always accessible via Canvas. But I want to walk us through the process real quick about how I want you all to submit these, and so we're on the same page, so I don't have to reach out to you at the end of next week when these are all turned in, asking you to kind of make sure this is in the right format. So I'll take a look at that right now. Okay, so here I'm going to use one of my own papers as an example, and this is kind of just a mock revision that I'm talking about. So this is a paper that I turned in for a class, one of my grad classes at the beginning of the semester. It's just a quick little write-up, 6 pages or so. And I just put a comment in here. I talk about this idea of shame. And this comment here, think about how you might bring in an alternative definition of shame here to set this one apart from the others. So I engage with this comment and I'm going back and I'm revising. And I'm saying, okay, this is a spot where I'll take a look at, what else can I do to strengthen this spot in revision? What was I thinking here, bringing just in this one definition of shame, and how can I further this and develop this for the context of this paper that calls for more than one definition of this term? So I have this idea, and I go back and I revise. And when I go back and revise, I take the document and, this is what kind of the revision will look like then. This is the one that I'll submit. So I'll take my document and I'll have it all on here. And look, oh, here's that section that I was commented on. And ideally, I didn't actually revise it here, but ideally I would have gone through and I would have revised this paragraph or a couple paragraphs to make it so it matches the comments and it moves past the comments. Maybe in another place I was too brief with something, and then I would go back and change that as well. But it's important to note that the document you're uploading has these highlights on it. I'm not going to have any idea on what you changed if you don't highlight it. Therefore, if you don't highlight things, I'm not going to accept it, and I'm going to have to ask you to resubmit it. So that's the first big thing when thinking about revisions and the grading process, is that you need to show you're actually you're actually changing and you're actually revising and you're actually engaging with. And then you'll just upload this whole document as your A4. So I'll open that Dropbox, but you'll put this in, and then I'll go through and compare it with your previous assignments. All right, so the next option is the next part of this assignment is the reflection letter. And there's two options for this. And the first one, this really goes through how you can format your reflection letter if you want to go through this option one. So these are the directions and these are the criteria that I'm going to be looking for when if you choose this reflective option on the course outcomes. And what this looks like is, I'll put this on Canvas too. This is kind of a guide for how these should look. This is a sample paragraph that shows them engaging with, for instance, one of the categories. But basically, you're going to take each of the learning outcomes from the syllabus and respond to these. Whether you thought you met or struggled with the course outcome, example from your own work that shows where you met or struggled with the course outcome, and an analysis of your learning process. What were you thinking at this point and how did you move on? So I have color coded it here for you to see kind of how that's working. And this is just one paragraph, and ideally you need 5 that correspond with each of the learning outcomes. So just keep that into consideration. For the second option, this is a more personal reflection, and this is just an option. You don't have to do both. You can pick one, but following these criteria are going to be, your success is going to be contingent on you following these criteria for this specific reflection letter, even if you go the more personal route about online learning and that way. So just pick one. Also, something that I'll say is it needs to be in a letter format. So write me a letter for this as well. And as far as turning in directions go on this, for instance, you can combine it into one document if you would so choose. So at the end of this, you could just write, your letter would start after the end in one Word document, or you can submit it in 2 documents as well, your reflection letter and your revised assignment. So if you have any questions, just kind of let me know on format, but that's really what I'm looking for this A4 assignment. I will really be looking to see how you actually engage in that metacognitive process, and kind of moving on past some specific things. Not just changing author tags, but going and looking maybe into a bigger picture issue of audience and seeing where you could really add on or draw a conclusion or something like that. Even if you got a high grade on the assignment that you're revising, there's still room for revision and further improvement. So again, let me know what questions you have and I'll be around.